Hi, and welcome to my channel. This is the second video of the tech interview tips video series that I'm currently making. And in this video, we're going to look at some tips related to how you respond. Let's get started. So the whole interview process is essentially a conversation between two people, right? So the way each of them are responding to others' questions and how they're giving the answers is very important. So let's talk about one by one. The first one is the way you greet the other person, because the first impression is the best impression you can have on any new person. So, as an interviewee, as a candidate, it is a great opportunity for you to impress the panelist up front before you even get into the technical discussion. So, the way you greet the panelist, the way you take a moment to inquire about their well being, asking questions like, "How are you doing today, sir?" or "How's the process going on? I know you are taking a lot of load today." These kinds of small greetings or small sentences will go a long way in giving a good impression, good first impression on you, upon the candidate, upon the panelist. Even during the waiting period, when you're waiting outside, if you see the interviewers or other organizers, managers, anyone related to the company, and if they engage with the candidates who are waiting, it's not a bad idea to actually talk to them if you can and participate in the conversation to lighten the mood, reduce the amount of anxiety or nervousness you might have, and that'll also give a good impression because it's very hard. It's very rare that people sitting for interviews as candidates, come up and talk to the organizers or the managers or the panelists themselves outside the interview room. So it is a great opportunity for you to do that. So that's the thing. And the next one is confidence. So this tip is more towards how you respond to questions. So when you get a question, always answer them confidently. Also, do not stop answering the question until the panelist goes to the next question. Because if you are done with the question, answering the question to the point, uh, you might have to wait for a few seconds before the panelist comes with the next question. So during that time, nobody asked you to stop. So you can fill that gap between question and question with whatever information you have around the question, not the exact point. You have covered the exact point, and then you are trying to cover the things that are around that point, so that you're giving the impression to the better impression to the panelist. Fill the answer with as much additional information around the actual question topic. So that gives a good idea to the panelist about the range of topics that you are already aware of. And when you do not know the answer, try to be honest and avoid giving wrong answers. Instead, tell the panelist what you know about the topic that is being asked in the question, even if you do not know the exact answer. Try to cover other things in that topic. That will, in fact, reduce the negative impact of you not knowing the answer. So, the next tip is full sentences. This tip is also about when you answer questions. Please avoid giving one word answers as much as possible. Since the question is a complete sentence, or it might be a set of sentences before the panelist might be giving you a scenario and asking you a question. So you heard a lot of sentences. You can't give a single word answer to those bunch of sentences. So give the answer as elaborately as possible. Even if you're not sure about the correct answer, don't give a one word wrong answer or one word answer that you say, "I don't know, sir," or something like that. Try to fill the sentences with words uh, with sentences that will give a meaningful impact or positive impact. Because I've seen some candidates who give one word answers like no idea, or yes, or maybe, or a smile. So all these things will not work, because when you give that kind of a small answer, that gives the panelists less space to think about the follow up question, and it leaves a very bad impression that the candidate is not good at communicating or discussing well. So keep that in mind always. The next tip is about using hands. When you know the answer to a question, but it is not straightforward, you may use hand gestures to illustrate what you are trying to convey. It will help you a lot along the way. It gives a positive impact towards the answer that you are trying to attempt. And the panelist will think, they'll also think that you are confident about the answer. Because when you're confident, the body will automatically open up. If you have a whiteboard in the room, most of the interview rooms generally have whiteboards. Make use of it, and also make sure that when you're using that, don't take your own sweet time to write what you are trying to show. Make it as fast as possible, because the panelist is under a tremendous amount of time crunch or pressure to finish the interview as soon as possible, because there are other candidates waiting for that panelist. So don't eat up the time of the panelist. So the next tip is about feedback. Many times when the panelist asks questions um, at the end of the interview, they will generally ask, do you have any questions for me? So the candidate passes on the opportunity and does not take it seriously. So that's a very bad thing to do. Um, I have to point out that it is very important to make use of that small chance uh, to talk directly to the technical person who you may work in future if you get selected. Some candidates might postpone knowing about the position until after the fact that they might be selected um, for that interview. I suggest to them that they have to take this opportunity to understand about the role, the responsibilities as a technical resource, the appraisal process, the team size, the technical scope, the technical stack, and other details of the project to understand more about the position you are getting into, and that will be a very informed decision that you can take. So that's that one. And the last one, or the last but one in this video, is casual talk. Sometimes, if the panelist is jovial, and they may engage the candidate in casual talk outside the interview curriculum, uh, or they might be waiting for other panelists to join, or there might be a moment or two when there is some technical thing going on, and they're bringing up the next question in their screen, and they have a minute or two. Uh, at that point of time, they might initiate a casual talk. So if there is any such chance, grab it with both your hands and show the panelist the lighter side of you. Be casual in that discussion, but do not override the lines of the panelist during that talk, and be professional at the same time. Don't uh, you know use abusive language, or don't insult anybody's feelings. Don't insult the feelings of the panelist, and don't do anything silly there, because that might be a test for you. The panelists might be testing the kind of behavior or the manner in which you conduct yourself during an official thing like that. So, but this kind of a discussion should always be initiated by the panelist, and the candidate should never try to initiate a casual talk during the interview process. So keep that in mind. So the next tip is leave taking. That is when you leave the room after the interview. This is as important as the greeting itself. Make sure you adjust the seating position of the seats that may have got disrupted during the interview process, or any of the infrastructure, the pens, the papers. Put everything in their own places before leaving the interview room, and also give a good salutation. So something like, "It was a pleasure talking to you, sir. It was great knowing you, sir." Or, "I wish you a great rest of the day, sir." Or any similar phrase while exiting the room. I know personally that this is in fact a good plus point for candidates to use, because as much as the panelist likes the answers, they may also expect a good way to end the discussion. So because immediately after you leave the room, they are supposed to give the feedback. So it's very important that you leave with a smile and with a good impression. So, okay, so that's about the way you respond to questions and the way you um, greet the interviewer, the way you talk to them. So, in the next video, that is the third part of this series, we will look at how uh, you look and how the looks may affect the interview process. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.